Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Locky Tech Podcast. My name is Shola, and today I do want to talk about the Samsung Galaxy A36 here. It is an interesting device. Now, if this is your first time coming over to this podcast, well, the format's very simple. What I'd like to do is talk about the good things about the device, in this case, the Samsung Galaxy A36, and then I'll go on to the cons of the device. Now, before I get into that, one thing I should say is that if you are interested in this device, do not panic, this is not a sales pitch. I have made a full review video on the Samsung Galaxy A36, very recently actually, and I've also published a video on the cameras on the Samsung Galaxy A36. And if that's not enough, I've also made numerous bite-sized videos, tips, tricks, features on the Samsung Galaxy A36. And all of this can be found on my main channel where I conduct all my reviews, and that is on Solar Tech. So if you're interested in this device or anything tech-wise, go over there and you'll find it there. But here on the podcast, I want to be a bit more relaxed because obviously on my main channel, very much everything's structured, military style. But here I want to be a bit more relaxed. Just talk about the product. In this case, the Samsung Galaxy A36. Okay, so without further ado, let's start with the pros. Now, what I've got to say is that this is definitely a big device, no doubt about it. But despite its size, it's still practical, so you can still take it about, which is quite impressive actually. But yeah, it's definitely practical from a day-to-day point of view. Also comes with a Snapdragon chipset, believe it or not. I'm not aware that it has the Exynos chipset, so that's really good because everyone feels that the Exynos chipset is slightly inferior. Again, for the price of this device, I think that's brilliant because usually, if I'm not mistaken, Samsung usually go for the Exynos chip, especially for the cheaper models. So to see the Snapdragon chipset on this one, superb. Screen-wise, really nice. If you're watching content on this device, gaming, doing anything, you'll be fine. Yeah, really nice. The colors are nice. They're bright, punchy. And also it has, you could argue about the bezels, but honestly, when you're watching stuff, you don't notice the bezels at all. You may say they're a bit thick, but overall, no, not at all. So anything you're watching on this device will be fine. You also get a 120 hertz refresh rate, which is great at this price point. And believe it or not, Apple with their iPhone 17 have only just introduced 120 hertz refresh rate. Whereas all other phones at this price, they have it. To me, it's standard. Now, one thing I love about Samsung phones, and that is the amount of features it has. It will have more features than you will ever need. But one thing I always say is that it's better to have them, so when you do need them, they are at your disposal. That rather than purchase a device that doesn't have the feature that you really want, and then you feel a little bit undone. But yeah, so hundreds of features with the Samsung Galaxy A36. Obviously you have things like screen record, which is great. For example, let's doing a tutorial like this and so forth. I'm not sure you have dual cameras. You have Gemini, which is really good. If you've never used Gemini, it's like your personal assistant in your pocket. It will just, I've used it to organize a holiday. It's brilliant. Yeah, so that's really good. The other thing is you have the always on display. That's really nice as well. I like that. Nice feature, especially if you're just resting, relaxing, or you wake up earlier than your alarm, you can see the time, date, and so forth. Yeah, that's quite nice. The other great thing with this as well is that if you travel abroad, you could get the 2 different time zones on the screen. That's really nice, especially if you need to call home or, very useful. You also have the secure folder. Again, that's really nice because if you need to keep certain things private, you can. So basically, whatever you do in your main space, you can have that within your secure folder. Not totally, like for example, you can't make phone calls within the second, not the second space, which is for another device, but within the secure folder. So yeah, the secure folder here, really good. Can keep everything away from prying eyes. And obviously you've got the Galaxy Store, so you can do further customization. So maybe you want the edge lighting, or so many other things you can do with this device, especially with Samsung Galaxy device. And I'll be honest, for my main daily driver, I use the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. So yeah, so I'm familiar with Samsung features. And obviously you get 6 years of software and security patch updates with this device. So that will take you all the way up to the 31st of March 2031. Look at that. I've done my homework. So that's really useful to know. So maybe you're buying it second hand, it can help. So you know that how many years you have left. So that's really nice. Again, at this price point, is fantastic. The other great thing with this device is it's definitely an all-day phone. I'd say with medium to heavy use. And also it does come with an IP67 dust and water resistant rating. Great, because it means that if you drop it in fresh water for, I can't remember how long, yeah, you can still use it. Or most likely you're out and it's raining, you know, you're safe in the knowledge that you can still use the device. Now, with Samsung devices, ecosystem is really good. So whether you're going to connect this up with a laptop, monitor, tablet, earbuds, etc., everything runs seamlessly. No issues from that point of view. Now, when it comes to AI features, yeah, you do have you have some really useful ones on here. You don't have the full gamut of AI features that you would have on the Ultra series, but yeah, you've got some here. So for example, you've got AI Select, Object Eraser, you can edit suggestions, read aloud, and the other one that I think is going to be popular for you to use is the Circle to Search feature. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware, but back in 2024, Samsung were not sure whether after the 31st of December 2025, if the Circle to Search feature, some of the AI features will be free. Well, we're now into 2026 and it's still free, so make the most of it. Yeah, that one I think you'll definitely use, enjoy, and you'll find that much more productive. Cameras, yeah, this device does take really nice photos and videos. And when it comes to the cameras as well, you have filters, especially for taking photos. And if I'm not mistaken, you've got about 10 different filters. So when you take a photo, it may look bland, but you've got other filter options as well. You can go all the way to black and white. Really nice. Video, you can shoot 4K 30 on both the front and the rear facing cameras. There is no 8K, but I've got to be honest, you don't need 8K. I have 8K on my S24 Ultra, and I don't think I've ever used it, to be honest, so you're not missing out. And if you go in the more option within the camera mode, you have such things as the Pro, Macro, Pro Video, Hyperlapse, Panoramic, etc. So there is a lot there to play with. And the other thing you have is you have the option to show palm, to take a photo, and to start a video. That's a really good option as well. And then when it comes to photos and videos, with the cameras on this device, you can zoom up to 10 times zoom. But one thing I will guard against is making sure that the subject is not too far away. Otherwise, it does tend to get really grainy. So you just keep that in mind. If you keep it as lower, obviously lower than 10 times zoom, then you're going to be fine. And the other thing is, whilst you're recording, you can zoom in and out. So keep that in mind as well, because sometimes at this price level, that's not always an option. Now, come to biometrics, you've got the full array on this device. So you've got the pattern, pin, fingerprint, face unlock, and they all work really well. The other thing to note as well is this device here. You do have speaker at the bottom, but you don't have a speaker at the top at all. So the top, there's no speaker. The sound comes from somewhere, just, I'm not sure if you can see that there. There's a slit just right at the top there. Yeah, just somewhere along here. It's embedded in there. That's where the secondary sound comes from. And between the two, the speaker at the bottom and up here, produces really nice stereo sound quality. That's really, really nice. So in a nutshell, those are the pros of the device. Just some highlights. I could go on so many pros, but I want to keep it quite condensed. Now, let me go on to the cons about this device. Now, I've been using this device. I've had this device it was released in March 2025. I think I've had this for quite a few months, maybe about 2 months. Time flies, really. One thing I would definitely highlight is that it is very slippery. So if you're going to be using it in a hot climate, or you've got sweaty hands, or you've got a combination of the both, sweaty hands and in a hot climate, this device will definitely slide out of your hands. So I'd highly recommend putting a case on it. The other thing to note is that on the back of this device, especially this particular color anyway, it is definitely a fingerprint magnet. So keep that in mind. I'm not sure about the other colors, but definitely the black is a fingerprint magnet. Now, going back to the cameras, the other thing to note as well is you don't have 4K 60 recording on either the front or the rear facing camera, which I find really odd at this price point, because you have other devices around this price range and you have 4K 60 on both the front and the rear facing cameras. So that's really surprising, actually, but it is what it is. But you've got the 4K 30. Something else to keep in mind is, for example, I have this one, which is the 128 gigabyte option. Now, it comes with the system storage. So all the pre-installed apps and files and everything, that comes to about 30 gigabytes. So you can see, if you deduct that from the 128, you're probably left with about 90 gigabytes, which is not actually a lot to play with, especially if you're someone that likes to take photos and videos. So keep that in mind. And on that note, I'd highly recommend, if you can afford to buy the 256 gigabyte model. Again, look at this. I'm not selling anything. I'm just thinking of your pocket. The other thing I don't like about this device is that charging is slow. It can take up to 90 minutes from 0 to 100% to charge this device. So I think the moral there is, don't let it get too low before charging. And also, you do not get any wireless charging with this device here. Again, really, that's quite strange, actually. I was really surprised, because take the Google Pixel A series, they have wireless charging, and they also have reverse wireless charging. So if you wanted to charge your buds or another phone on the back of the device, you can do so. But I'm really surprised that Samsung has not offered it on here. So again, that's a real surprise to me. So yeah, just something to definitely keep in mind. And I'm going to finish off with the fact that you do not get Samsung DeX on this A36. Again, I was a little bit surprised, but hey, it is what it is. It's not a deal breaker. And if you're not familiar with Samsung DeX, and that's the ability where you can project whatever's on your device onto a monitor, computer screen, or television, and you can take advantage of that real estate. But I've got to be honest, Samsung DeX is not a deal breaker. Again, I have the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. Ask me how many times I've used Samsung DeX, and I'm going to be brutally honest, maybe once, and maybe that's just to do a tutorial for my main channel. That's it. So yeah, it shouldn't be a deal breaker by any means. So without going too long with this video, yeah, those are my highlights. So those are my pros and cons of the Samsung Galaxy A36. So just basically to sum up, I really like this device. I think if you're going to invest in this device, you will not go wrong. But again, I would highly recommend if you can get the 256 gigabyte option, because as I said, maybe most people, they're not aware. If they buy the 128, you don't get 128 gigabytes. As I mentioned, take away 30 gigabytes and you're only left with about 90. Yeah, you can delete some of the apps, but those are going to be few and far between. It's not going to save you another 20 gigabytes of space, not at all. So overall, yeah, really nice device. Hardware, software, features, AI. That's another thing. It would have been nice if Samsung offered more AI features. Yeah, so I was a bit surprised, but you've got some there to keep you certainly going. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. If you've got any questions about this device, I'm very open, very hopefully approachable. Always happy to answer them. And again, if you're interested, you can go on my main channel on Solar Tech. That's where I conduct all my reviews. And yeah, that's pretty much the A36. So yeah, on that note, signing out. Ciao.